Well, hey everybody, it's Bradford, your carnivore curmudgeon, and today I'm going to show you how I made a 10-pound batch of these delicious, herby, juicy, snappy venison beer brats. Let's see how it's done. And a good place to start is with some meat. So here I've got 5 pounds of pork shoulder. I already cubed up and deboned and had on standby in the freezer, and 5 pounds of venison as well. Now I'm going to put it through the Meat Your Maker number 22 1 horsepower meat grinder, which is going to make quick work of this. And I'm starting with a small grind only because I couldn't find my larger grind plate. I did find it, but not until after this project was done. But not to worry, it's still going to have two different textures because I'm going to take some of this, put it through one time, and then take some of it and put it through a second time on the small grind plate. Once it's done grinding, it's time to put in some regular kosher salt and some pink salt. I'm going to have the link to where I got this recipe in the description below, and it's Hank Shaw's wild game recipe. He has so many good recipes with regard to anything and all things wild game. I usually take a base recipe and then modify it for myself. For instance, I don't add sugar to virtually any of the sausages that I make. But I'm going to start just with the regular salt and the pink curing salt. His recipe does say to utilize some sugar. I'm not going to use the sugar. And he also suggests doing this when the meat is all cubed up before grinding it. But I just went ahead and ground it all up and then stirred it in. Once it's all incorporated, then it's into the refrigerator for an overnight rest. Now, this is supposed to help the binding process the next day when it's time to make the sausages. Does it? Yeah, I don't know. I've never tried it another way, but I figured it's worth a try. And just like that, after an overnight rest, the meat has darkened up nicely as a result of the reaction of that salt. And now it's time to, it's time to put the other herbs and spices in. They're not 11 and they're not secret, but they are tasty. Here's what that's going to look like. It's going to start with some dried milk powder for a binder. And I'm measuring this by weight, and you can't see the scale underneath. That's why I was pouring it in so slow. Next is some ground black pepper. Now some mace. Then comes some ground sage. And now I'm just going to take some whole mustard seeds and I'm going to put them in this little former coffee grinder. Now it's a spice grinder, and give them just a coarse chop. I don't want to obliterate them. I just want to give them a couple of spins and coarsely chop those whole mustard seeds. And with all of that put together, it's time now to give it a good mix. Now, the recipe also calls for some fresh garlic. I did not put in any fresh garlic. I didn't put any powdered garlic in either. I just left it out altogether. But once this is all really well incorporated, and your hands are tired and cold from doing the mixy mix, then it's going to be just about ready to make some beautiful brats with one more ingredient to go. And of course, that ingredient is going to be our beer. In this case, I'm using a oatmeal porter. My son happens to work at a brewery, and this was kind of a rich and thick Beer, a lot of people make beer brats without putting beer into the meat mixture. They just cook them in beer afterward, but I like them done both ways. So I'm going to take this thick, rich, deep, aromatic beer, and it's 2 cups for 10 pounds. And so, it's not really a lot of beer, but it really does add a lot of flavor. It also doesn't add a lot of carbs when you consider what a large batch of beer brats we are making here. And just like when we added our spices, we're just going to keep mixing this until it's well incorporated and it gets sticky to the point that it will hold on the bottom of your palm uh, when you turn your hand upside down. Now we're ready to link up some beautiful venison beer brats. Here I've got the 5 pound meat your maker meat sausage stuffer. So obviously, if we made 10 pounds, we should be able to fill this up 2 times. And that's exactly how it worked out. I'm also going to be using hog casings from a website called the Sausage Maker. And I've been very pleased with this purchase. They're not sponsored in any way. I don't have any kind of sponsors or anything like that. But I have been pleased with their product. It can be a little challenging when you buy a large batch to get them untangled, but hey, it's worth it in the end if your sausages don't have a bunch of blowouts and splits as you're trying to get your work done. And I'll say in this particular case, I didn't think I would ever get to the end of this one hog casing. Um, it just went on forever and ever and ever. And we got a good chuckle out of it standing around watching me trying to get to the end of it. So this entire 10-pound batch went into one sausage maker casing that I purchased. And there was still some left over. I cut it off and put it back into the package. Must have been a big hog. So here we go. I'm just going to make some big round sausages and then I'm going to pinch them off after I get the casing filled and link them up individually into the links that I want. So I took a Sharpie and I made a mark on my pan so that I could see the approximate length of each one that I wanted to make, trying to make them as uniform as possible. In my case, I made them right about 6, 7 inches, which is above average. And that way, if people wanted to eat them on a bun, they should be a little bit longer than bun length. And then if they didn't want to eat them on a bun, well, they have a nice size brat for their brat pleasure, if you will. Now, once I was done, I put these guys in front of a fan and let that blow on there to kind of dry up these casings for about an hour, and then back into the fridge for an overnight rest period. Plus, I ran out of time, so it really wasn't necessary. I could have finished them up then, but then it was time to snip them up. Now I'm left with, when we're all done, this 10 pounds. This is not all 10 pounds in this picture of a giant pile of beer brats. And these brats are fresh brats. I did not smoke these, but you can smoke them. What I did was I cooked them on the stovetop in beer. And then after they were cooked through, I just tossed them on the grill to give them some nice grill marks. And that's my way. That's my favorite way of making uh, beer brats is cooking them first in the beer and then finishing them in just a few minutes on the grill. And yeah, how were they? Well, I gotta say, no complaints from me. They were herby and delicious. I can't say that I really tasted the beer, but you're not really supposed to taste the beer. It's just supposed to enhance the flavor. These sausages were juicy. They had a nice snap. I still can't get this lousy camera to focus up close, but they were really the consistency that you want for a beer brat. And I don't think it would matter which way you made them. They would have been just fantastic. Really a good flavor and a little bit of uh, stony ground mustard with them was a perfect pairing. I'll bet they'd be amazing with some sauerkraut. And all that was left to do was to vac seal these in. I put about four sausages in each package and put them in the freezer. And so there they sit ready for whatever occasion is appropriate to break out some beer brats or even for a quick uh, dinner in the evening. They don't take long to thaw out, but I've got a whole 10-pound batch. I'm going to give some away. I'm going to enjoy some. And if you give this recipe a try, I would love to hear how it worked out for you and how what you thought of the flavor profile of these beer brats. Get out there and make some sausages. It's a lot of fun and it's tasty fun. Hey, thanks everybody for watching, and I hope you'll tune in and see what is next. Take care.